Hi, my name is Joy Axelson, and we are going to be going through the book of Jonah today. It's a fascinating book. A lot of us probably have heard or read a lot about it when we were growing up as kids. It's stories especially about Jonah being in the belly of the fish for 3 days, and this pagan city coming to repentance. But there's actually more to the story than that, and we're going to look at that today. First of all, I want to start off though by reading Jonah chapter 1, verses 1 through 2. It says, "Now the word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before me." And so here we see that Jonah is the son of Amittai. But who is Jonah? Well, if you look at 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 25, it says, He, this is talking about Jeroboam II, restored the borders of Israel from Bethmath as far as the sea of Arabah, according to the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, which was spoken by his servant Jonah, the son of Amittai, the prophet who was from Gath-hepher. So we see that this puts Jonah during the time of Jeroboam II. So what do we know about Nineveh? Well, today, or in this session, we want to look at a few things. Number one, we want to look at Nineveh. We want to look at what was happening in Assyria during this time. And we also want to look at the cruelty of Assyria, of what they did against the nations they would come against. Nineveh, according to Genesis 10, verse 11, was built by Nimrod. Jonah described Nineveh as that great city, that it took 3 days' journey and breadth to cross it, that there was 120,000 people. The ruins of Nineveh were discovered in 1947, and there has been extensive excavation done on the city of Nineveh. Nineveh is located on the Tigris River in northern Iraq. According to the VIP Bible Background Commentary, during the time of Jonah, the circumference of Nineveh would have been less than 3 miles, or approximately 5 kilometers. According to the Kell and Didwish Commentary on the Old Testament, Volume 10, Minor Prophets, recent discoveries of the excavations done near Nineveh, the name Nineveh has been used in 2 different circumstances. One, it refers to one city named Nineveh, or it could refer to 4 cities that are around the area of Nineveh. So it was kind of the extended or the suburbs of Nineveh. Nineveh was surrounded by 3 rivers on 3 sides, and then the 4th side was surrounded by mountains. So it was very fortified and a protected city. It was also a very important junction for commercial routes on the Tigris River. It also was located on the Great Highway between the Mediterranean Sea and the Indian Ocean. So there was a lot of wealth that ran through Nineveh, so it became one of the great cities, one of the great ancient cities. So what was happening to Assyria during the time of Jonah? As you see on the picture or the slide, Jeroboam II was king, and then the king of Syria would have been Adad-nirari III. Assyria was strong during the reigns of Ashurnashirpal II and Shalmaneser III. It was a time of growth and prosperity. But even before the death of Shalmaneser III, there was rebellion on the land and the rise of the authority of the district governors. So that started the decline of a period of Assyria. So over the next 70 years, there was a marked decline in the Assyrian history. There was a decreased number of campaigns that were made by the kings. There was more domestic rebellion, and there was internal conflict. So it wouldn't be until the reign of Tiglath-Pileser III that Assyria would start to rise to power again. So during the time of Jeroboam II, Assyria was in a period of decline. Now, lastly, we want to look in this session at the cruelty of Assyria. In the British Museum, I've actually been there, you can see these huge stones that show there were carvings taken from Nineveh and the palaces there, and they would show the cruelty that Assyria liked to put on their prisoners and the nations that they rose up against. They were really proud of their warfare and their cruelty. They were known for causing so much fear to the nations around them. Now I want to read to you from the annals of Ashur-Nepal and what they would do to their prisoners. The first slide shows an impaling of prisoners, and this is what he wrote in his annals. I captured the city. 800 of their warriors I struck down with the sword. I cut off their heads. Many of the men I captured alive. The rest I burned with fire. Their heavy spoils I carried off. A pillar of living men and of heads I built in front of their city gates. 700 men I impaled on a stake in front of their city gate. The city I destroyed, I devastated. I turned it into mounds and ruins. Their young men I burned into flames. And then the next slide you see that there are Syrian soldiers that are flaying the captives. And this is again the same king, and this is what he wrote in his annals. I slew 260 fighting men. I cut off their heads and made pyramids therefore. I slew one of every two. I built a wall before the great gates of the city. I flagged the chief men of the rebels, and I covered the walls with their skins. Some of them were enclosed alive in bricks of the wall. Some of them were crucified on stakes along the wall. I caused a great multitude of them to be flayed in my presence, and I covered the wall with their skins. How sickening. But this just shows the real evil and cruelty that the Assyrians liked to do to their enemies. And then in the next slide, you see they're putting hooks in the noses of the captives, and then they would carry them like this into captivity. So Jonah would have known about this and all the cruelty that Assyria would do to their enemies. Briefly, we want to look at the Assyrian king that reigned during the time of Jonah, Adad-nirari III. We don't know so much about him. There's unfortunately has been found so much about what happened during his time. But there were several key events that occurred under his reign. First of all, there was a famine in the land in 765 BC and 759 BC. Or it could have been two different famines, or it could have been that the famine lasted for 7 years. And there was a total solar eclipse that happened on the 15th of June, 763 BC. So these events could have caused apprehension and fear in the people of Nineveh. They could have thought of them as omens from the gods trying to send them a message. So because of these events, the people in Nineveh perhaps could have been more open to hear Jonah's message. It's important to note, though, that there has not that there is no historical evidence of Jonah or the city's repentance found in any of the Assyrian findings.